How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Craig Peters, Vikings.com. What's going on, my brother?
Well, it's so great to join you in the official capacity.
Good seeing you, too. Excellent work at Vikings.com. Tatum Everett with work at Vikings Entertainment Network, also Vikings.com. Has interviews with the likes of Charles Davis, NFL Network, and Robert Mays from The Athletic coming up a little later. But for the purpose of this conversation, the NFLPA has released rankings involving organizations. I believe the Vikings recently or last year finished first in this, correct?
So the first year they did this was 2023 calendar year,
okay.
and the Vikings were number 1 overall. Mm-hmm. Last year, Miami edged ahead. Vikings ranked second, and we have a run-it-back situation now where Miami again gets the top spot, but Minnesota is number 2, which is very, very respectable. Great place to be.
What goes into it? Like what categories get A's, B's, and so on?
Yeah, so the NFLPA, first of all, this is all player-fed input. I think they had more than 1,600, almost 1,700 players participate in the surveys. There's open-ended questions. There's closed-ended questions. The open-ended ones are optional, where they can elaborate on the treatment of families, per se, where the Vikings got an A+. And the high mark there. There were 4 categories overall with A+s for the Vikings. That includes ownership, head coach, locker room, and treatment of families. And there are 11 categories total.
The radio crew.
Yeah, somehow they left that one off.
Combine swag, we got an F.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
But between you guys, I mean, if you add that into the mix, I like a 12th category forming.
Yeah.
Just based on.
That's why they call us the 12s.
Yeah. They don't call
you know what
the
I mean?
12s.
Well, the way Seattle played last year, then they might be the 11 and a halves.
There you go.
What else did we house here with A's?
All right. So 10 of 11 categories with A- or better. Food and dining A-, training room A-, weight room A-, and then your standard A's, training staff, team travel, and strength coaches. Oh, that's all very positive.
That's
marks.
sweet.
Yeah.
And that just came out?
That came out today.
Can people
about an hour ago?
Can people read about it at Vikings.com?
They sure can.
Excellent.
Rob has a great story that just hit, and we'll have a nice summary there. They can also find the initial tweet by the NFLPA on X that we'll have a nice link to the report cards. Rob Story has that too, and then you can just kind of see how other teams size things up. They'll have like some quotes from players. These are all anonymous surveys, but you really get some genuine feedback, I think, through this survey. It's interesting. What I'm always curious about, PA, is there going to be any benefit when it comes to free agency, like either keeping the guys that have been in your building a year or two, or maybe a little bit more, and maybe had come to the Vikings from some other team that may not have scored as high, or does that help you recruit new free agents that may have been at a place they didn't love as much as it sounds like.
So who finished at the bottom of the list?
Let me guess, Arizona.
That's what I want to know.
Like Arizona ran last one time within the last couple of years, and there were like anonymous players who just savaged the cafeteria and things like that.
They had to pay for their own food.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, they're like. Yeah.
Well, I don't generally make it a habit on commenting on other teams.
I understand.
But
it's just
I will rattle off the top 5 and the bottom 5.
Right, thank you.
There we go. Yeah.
All right, top 5: Dolphins, Vikings, Falcons, our neighbors here at the Combine, Raiders, and Chargers. And Falcons were a big jump up this past year. Falcons went from 25th to 3rd, Chargers from 30th to 5th. They did open that new facility.
Yeah.
So that was
Jim Harbaugh rolls in.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm tired of this bottom of the barrel stuff. Who does it better than us? Nobody.
And then the bottom 5, Steelers, Jets, Browns, Patriots, Cardinals.
I didn't even know that. Okay. What do you?
I mean, if it affects free agents, if this really matters, then those guys would be more likely to leave.
It plays into it, don't you think?
I don't know. I don't know that I'm qualified to say. I've never been a free agent. Pete, what do you think? Do you think guys factor that in at all?
Well, they certainly don't factor weather into the equation, right? Weather doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think coaching does, and if you have options, that's definitely part of it. I think the training room too, as well as and how well they take care of you there. The other stuff is nice, quote unquote, to have. It's just a question of how much are you willing to take. How much less money are you willing to take to go somewhere?
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that has more to do with the coaching and opportunity than anything.
And lack of state income tax. So, I mean, like Miami, like Florida and Texas, if that's not factored into this, but if it was, I bet you they get better grades.
Well, and you can work that into your contract to say after taxes, this is going to be this much of a difference. So you might be able to go at the Titans per se when they're in negotiations could say, keep in mind this is going to be worth a lot more than what you're going to make after taxes.
Right.
If it comes down to nickels and dimes, I mean, maybe that might make a difference, but this definitely helps, no question about it. It's good for internals too. Right, I mean, for a team to know where they're struggling, I'm kind of surprised it's public. You kind of I think that's an interesting part of the whole thing because you're kind of embarrassing the teams that aren't doing so well.
Well, I think the whole mission is providing information to players, and that was a stated purpose by the NFLPA when they first launched these. Is really trying to serve as a guide for making free agency decisions. One of the things I do want to mention is like in kind of like the more open-ended questions, it was cited by that Vikings ownership's commitment to building a competitive team.
Yeah.
Was something that players appreciate.
There's no question about that.
So I think that resonates too, like you're talking about with opportunities.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple opportunities. There's playing time, there's starter versus reserve, or there's chasing
winning,
what everyone's wanting to get.
Right. At Vikings.com with combine-related stuff, free agency, the rookies, all that. What you working on that as you serve the public?
Yeah, it's an exciting time with free agency right around the corner. So we're doing a little bit of stuff about how the organization is continuing to work together. Great landing on so many free agents last year. That was probably one of the best free agent classes in Vikings history.
Correct.
Like you could line up maybe 2006 and maybe that one and like let them duke it out.
Yeah.
Possibly. So there's such of continuity with the whole operation, coaches, coordinators. The personnel department.
That's why we were picked to finish fourth in a division. We had so many question marks in key areas going into the season. You bring in free agents, and Grenard had a good year, but Van Ginkel, that best year he's ever had. Cashman, best year he's ever had. Right? I mean, Darnold, obviously the best year he's ever had. So they absolutely nailed it in free agency a year ago to the point where this year you're a little less upset about the number of draft picks, right? And so that's a testament to how well they did a year ago.
Appreciate you with the NFLPA update and wonderful marks for the organization. And we will follow you at Vikings.com, see what you're working on, okay?
Thanks so much for having me.
Craig Peters, Vikings.com. When we return, Courtney Cronin from ESPN joins us live at the Indianapolis Scouting Combine on KFAN.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
It's another Wild Wednesday on the Fan, presented by Jim Beam, the official bourbon of the Minnesota Wild. And we've got your tickets. Be caller 11 right now to win a pair of tickets to see your Wild take on the Pittsburgh Penguins Sunday, March 9th. 1-800-320-5326 is the number. Caller 11 will win a pair of Wild tickets to see the Penguins. 1-800-320-5326. Call now.
Courtney Cronin covers the Chicago Bears for ESPN, does a lot of ESPN radio and television work, and you can follow her via the X Machine if you are so inclined at Courtney R. Cronin, and she will be our final on-site live guest, day 2 of the NFL Combine, a morning after the Women of the NFL Combine event last night, which Pete Bursich and I attended, and holy cow, it's the second one I've gone to. It was packed last night. It was energetic.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known you, we've known each other a decade or so, right around there. I can't say that I've ever seen the even-keeled or even-keeled-ish Courtney Cronin as excited as you were last night. Like with that event, you've done the event before. It's been successful. What hit last night to kind of get you over the hump with excitement?
I mean, did you see the line?
Yeah.
Were you guys in the line
We were
going?
in the line.
we were in the line.
So for people to visualize this, we have the upstairs bar at this establishment called Tavern on South. We've done it there every year for 7 years. They've been an incredible partner for us. And I have a registration table where everybody has to sign in. And at one point, we had such a rush of people that the line was backed up down the stairs. And it was fun to see that because it just shows you that the growth and the word of mouth and people bringing first timers there. Like, I get most excited when I see people I don't know. Like, obviously you love the people who have been your day one supporters, and obviously you've been to several of these. It's really cool to see that, but it's cool to see the people who saw the signs we put up in the convention center or heard about it on social media and showed up, and we're getting to form a bigger network every time, and I think that's really unique.
Well, how about this? So I'm at a Caribou in Eagan by the facility a month and change ago or whatever. I'm texting with Courtney to come on 9 to noon. And I'm meeting there with a dear friend of mine, Tim Siegley, who owns First Resource Bank. And Tim is a big fan of Courtney's, as I learned there. So we were talking about the event and everything, and Tim jumps up and he's like, well, how can I help? Even though he's not going to be at the event. And so he stepped up, so did First Resource Bank, to help with the raffle items. And when you get like ancillary things like that, plus your core supporters, when that comes together and the symbiotic nature of it is hassle-free, how beautiful is that?
It's incredible because I'm not an event planner. Like everything, like I don't have any skills to do this other than what I've been doing for 7 years now with this event. And I don't have the total number, but I know for a fact, like I had a stack of name tags, 200 name tags. That was gone by 7:30.
Right.
So we had well over 200 people. It was just to be able to up the ante. So like Tim's support with the raffle was incredible. Allowed us to like help offset some of the operational costs to be able to get things that people were excited about. The raffle was fun. I need you to do the raffle next year, though.
And
like, I need you to bring the Canterbury energy to the raffle.
Okay.
And you were the one who got everybody to be quiet so we could take the picture.
I was
couldn't
picture
speak to the end of the
organizer
room.
guy last night.
Yeah.
Where this one of your organizers came over and she couldn't get people to pay attention.
Yes. Because it was so loud.
Well,
we had that many people there.
Well, trying to get a group photo with 200 people ain't easy.
Yeah, no, that's definitely hard.
So, I mean,
I overthought that one.
I just started screaming, hey!
Yeah, the best was he gave everybody that was standing near him a warning. Said it's going to be loud.
Yeah.
We're all like,
and
okay,
then at a predominantly mostly women's event, when they see a Jay Leno lookalike standing by himself in the corner yelling, hey, well, there was some caution that transpired at that moment, but then they realized it was for a picture, and that was just part of the joy
I needed you at that moment, so you came through. Again, supporting women, part of the process.
What was the genesis of this event, Women of the Combine? Like, why did you decide to do it?
So when I came, my first Combine was 2018, so it was like I had just started on the Bears beat in 17, whirlwind season, NFC Championship. You're kind of like coming out of that. And it's like, oh, wait, I'm going to an event that I've never been to for the first time. How do I do the Combine? And it's a tricky space to navigate because you're in there talking to GMs and coaches, and then there's the prospect interview parts. Like, what information should I be gathering? What sources should I be trying to build? How do I navigate the night scene here? Because, nobody goes to bed at like 9 o'clock at night. Like, you're out trying. Well, maybe you do, but
I do.
that's okay.
I'm up at 4, but that's okay.
Big Mac and 2 dozen chicken McNuggets.
Yeah, because he drove from Chicago, so we have a car.
Okay.
So after leaving you, we drove through McDonald's, dropped about $35 between the two of us. Went back to the hotel, separate rooms, mashed on that McDonald's, went to sleep.
I mean, honestly, that sounds like a really good night in Indianapolis.
It's not Telluride, but it's as Indianapolis goes. It's
I like
cool.
it. But like the genesis of it was in like I wanted something. Back in 2018, NABJ, National Association of Black Journalists, had a dinner here for anybody who was part of their professional organization to come to and just like network. And it looked like a really fun thing. I think they probably had like 30 people, something like that. And I said, why can't we have something for women here? Whether you work for a team, whether you are an agent, whether you're a media member like myself, whether you work for the league office. And so that was kind of the crux of it. I wanted to have a place where it could be all of us converging early on in the week, find your people, and then go out and do the combine with your people. Because it's nice to have like the people to go out to dinner with, to like go to these things with, to bounce ideas off of, to, have you introduce somebody to somebody else. And, it's all about source building. It's all about relationship, networking. All those things that's what you come here for. In addition to, talking about where your team's going to be drafting and what their free agency priorities are, and it's grown exponentially, and I'm very proud of it.
Have you had any good stories about that yet? Like this connection to this connection thanks to this event?
People have gotten jobs out of it. I remember talking to a girl last year who couldn't be here. Her name's Kelly Hallahan. She's up in Green Bay. She worked in West Lafayette for a while, and then made like a connection at the happy hour, and was able to, through her own hard work and her reel and everything else, but like that, she put herself in contact with the right people, and it's neat to see that. It's neat to see, we had people yesterday who do, I don't know the name of the company, so forgive me, but like they do relocation stuff for all the teams. And the Bears happen to be one of their biggest clients. George McCaskey walked in early on at the event yesterday.
Wow.
And had a chance to meet with the people who he may not, I don't know if he knew them like personally or ever, but the Bears are their biggest client.
Jeez.
So it's cool to like put those relationships together and to get to, see people in those spots.
And for a second consecutive year landing the plane on that awesome event last night, Bears president Kevin Warren. It's the second consecutive year I've seen him, and Kevin shows up just to be there and like be part of the event because it has a Chicago feel to it, and it was great seeing Kevin last night. To the team though, with Kevin Warren, what is he tasked with now? Like what are some things on which he's working now with the Bears?
There's a lot. I mean, he was a huge part of the coaching search. Like that was him, Ryan Poles. Ian Cunningham, the assistant general manager, Matt Feinstein, the VP of football administration. They had a six, and George McCaskey and their head of HR. They had like a 6-person group that spearheaded the 17 interviews, and that took a lot of time. I mean, it was only 12 days, but that was 160 hours.
Well, that's Kevin Warren,
and that's the no stone unturned. Kevin Warren approach. So once that got done, now I think the attention is for him, like, all right, I'm not going to have my hands in football, like, the day-to-day building the roster thing. Like, leave that to the coaching staff. You got the best coach out there. You paid for the best coach out there. Ben Johnson's making $13 million a year.
Wow.
That's not a normal Bears standard operating procedure.
No.
So now for Kevin, it's the stadium, and it's a lot of the business operation stuff that he's responsible for, too, and expanding his staff. But they've, he got here in 2022. And, they pivoted course from Arlington Heights, during that process. And now they're in a spot where they might be going back to Arlington Heights because it doesn't feel like everything in the city is lined up the way that they want to. I know that one thing that Kevin said during, I believe it was the press conference after Ben Johnson was hired, he likened Arlington Heights to the optionality of the place. That's the first time we had heard him use a word like that to describe a property that they said, oh, yeah, we own it, but our sole focus is on the city of Chicago. The sole focus is no longer on building a lakefront stadium because I think they've run into more roadblocks than they probably anticipated. And the public funding it would take for that and the pushback that you get from local government is just too much. So I think that in 2025, he said he expects shovels in the ground. It will be a shovel in the ground in Arlington Heights and not in not in Chicago.
Yeah. Ben Johnson, the new head coach. If I were to describe him as ruthless, do you think that would be unfair? And when I say ruthless, I don't mean it, like as a person. I mean just as a super competitively arrogant, aggressive play caller, where, like, when I say ruthless, I would not be surprised if this man, with all that money they have to spend in free agency, if he looks at Minnesota, Green Bay, and Detroit and says, I have enough money to take all of the guys you want. And he might do it if he likes them. You know what I mean?
I mean, he's in the division. He's been in the division. He knows how hard it is to play in the NFC North. So this team is it's right now the gap between them and being competitive with Detroit, with Minnesota, with Green Bay is still pretty significant. So I think the ruthless part is a good way to describe it, because think about when they beat the Bears in Chicago. So that would have been the second game that they would have played them, and he brought out that stumble bum play because he picked it up from the Green Bay game.
Yep.
And it's you're going to handedly beat Chicago by multiple scores, yet you're using a trick play in this game of all times.
Right.
And maybe that was his way of getting their attention, hey guys, this is why you should hire me. This will replicate itself in Chicago.
Wow.
But
did Kevin say, "Can you bring Jameer with you?"
They need something like that. I mean, but that's the point of what made Ben Johnson so successful in Detroit.
His offensive line coach is
and his offensive line coach,
the ability to identify that talent and bring it in. Because I'm trying to remember the
Hank Fraley?
The center for
Frank Ragnow.
Ragnow,
yeah.
Remember, he played guard for a while and was really kind of a disaster.
Wow.
And then they moved him to center.
Yeah, I didn't remember that.
And then, boom, he just took off. So it's the ability to find – you can't just draft first-rounders all the way across the board. It's just too much of an investment. You need to find some other guys that fit what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And the reason the Lions are – obviously they have the pieces, but the offensive line – and you talk about a thorn in the side of the Bears for the last couple of years. Tevin Jenkins is a big free agent, but he's missed multiple games.
22 over the last 4 seasons.
He's had a very, very hard time staying healthy. It's just been just a disaster.
Yeah, it hasn't been good. And all three of the interior on the offensive line, all three of them are headed to free agency. And I don't think those are guys that you want to bring back. Can you flip an entire unit in one offseason?
Yeah.
Ben Johnson said yes when I talked to him yesterday.
Of course he did.
And he pointed to Carolina as the example, which is interesting, just thinking about how much they really have made investments there. The Bears have not. The Bears have one top 10 pick on the offensive line, and that's Darnell Wright. It has to be a priority because you got to protect your quarterback who was sacked 68 times. Yeah. And I think that Ben knows the offensive line, that was something that was built before him, and it's probably a strategy under Brad Holmes that will continue. It was built before both of them, starting with Taylor Decker in 2016. First-round pick. Penei Sewell was a first-round pick. Frank Ragnow was a first-round pick. Kevin Zeitler was a first-round pick. I know they signed him as a free agent from Baltimore, but, it works.
Yep.
You spend high draft capital at premium positions like that because those can be franchise guys for you for 10 years.
Right.
And, for Jared Goff and the play action game and the run game to all marry together, it starts with that unit. And, to bring it back to, what you said about Jahmyr Gibbs, the Bears don't have that running back room right now. DeAndre Swift was with Ben Johnson in 2022, and Ben Johnson was cool at that point being no, I'm good on this. We can send him to Philly. That's fine. So... I don't know. The Bears overspent on him in free agency last year. I think that's kind of a, buyer's remorse on that when Saquon Barkley said at the Super Bowl that he was pretty close to wanting to be in Chicago and signing with Chicago.
Oh, geez.
That doesn't help.
I must have missed that one.
Help.
It doesn't help.
Courtney Cronin, ESPN.
Caleb Williams. What's the grade on him, or what are the thoughts on him in his first campaign?
And Courtney has a story at ESPN.com from a couple of days ago. For Caleb to grow, the Bears need help at these 4 positions.
Yeah, and it's a defense too, because the defense is going to help him and keep the other team, get the other team off the field so he can go score points. But it's a lot of up and down, and I think that if the team looks back at it and understands where it all went wrong, I think certainly coaching had to do with some of it, but that excuse is now gone because you went out and got, in theory, the best coaches you thought money could buy for this quarterback. And a lot was put on him from the very start. He was QB1 from May 5th or whatever that day was of rookie minicamp.
Right.
He didn't have time to really figure it out, and I was just doing ESPN Cleveland, and they were asking, well, what should Browns fans expect if they draft a quarterback at 2? Who's going to be the guy right away? And it's not just like you're learning a new offense and you go from these spread concepts in college to, playing under center, which Caleb never did at Oklahoma or USC, so that was brand new. It's the leadership part. Like, it's not your team for a while, and how do you lead veteran guys when he had receivers like Keenan Allen and DJ Moore who were established guys and wanted to do things their way and had a vision for how they wanted to do it their way, and the quarterback's not having success, and then there's the body language element of it. Like, it was too much. I mean, it'd be unfair and probably a cop-out for me to give him an incomplete grade. I'll give him a C. There were good moments, the off-script moments, the off-schedule moments, but there were also moments, like thinking about the 2 Vikings games. What a tale of 2 different quarterbacks.
Right.
The one in the game that went to overtime where he doesn't take that untimely sack on 3rd down in overtime. Who knows what that game ends up being? Right. I remember talking to Jordan Addison about it afterwards on the field because I was doing a countdown that day, and he was like, what I was feeling. I asked him what he was feeling on the sideline, and he was like, God, I really hope they don't get the ball back. He's like watching with bated breath because he saw this at USC when Caleb had to turn into that mode, and obviously he didn't.
Right.
But the fact that that persona and that mindset still exists with other players, I think, is what their Bears are hoping they can get the best out of from this coaching staff with Caleb now, building an offense around him instead of, frankly, a progression-based offense that was too complicated for a rookie quarterback to learn with coaches who were just not on the same page with him.
To close, outside of the football covenant, let me give you a fist bump.
Thank you.
Because I have all your albums, and I love watching you on Around the Horn. And there was a time within the last week and change, all right? The LA Lakers made that ballyhoo trade for Luka Doncic, and things started off negatively. All right, I'm watching C with three others. She's just beating the boys on Around the Horn because they're all killing the Lakers, okay, because they look bad early in this trade. And Courtney's like, hey, let's watch it for a little bit.
3 games in.
Yeah, it was 3 in. Let's watch it for a little bit. All right. And then I caught you a couple of days ago after they destroyed Denver, and then they beat Dallas last night before the Dallas game. And you were peacocking a little bit. You were like, who was it last time who told you guys to relax on this?
And I said I would have been panicking had they lost to Portland the next night on the back end of the back-to-back, and they didn't. They played really well. And lo and behold, look at Luka Doncic. This is the player that you thought he was going to be, the facilitator for LeBron. And he was recovering from a calf injury. He's out of shape. All these things take time.
Yeah.
And look, it works.
You love doing that show, don't you?
I do.
I can tell.
It's my favorite.
You're really good.
It's so much fun. It's a neat show, and we get to talk about so many different things. And I will always love being a part of that.
You're awesome. Thank you for last night.
Thank you both for coming. Really appreciate
great.
it.
Thank you
for sure. Courtney Cronin, ESPN. Our final combine segment is next.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
You're listening to The Fan.
Oh, that was fun. It was stimulation overload. A lot of interviews we recorded yesterday. It was great catching up on the radio with Kevin Stefanski, Leslie Frazier, Drew Petzing, chatting with the ever quirky Bill Musgrave off the radio. That was great.
Yeah,
but, this is your second year doing these combine shows. What do you think?
I just try to reflect on what we've learned, and I think that the opportunity for the Vikings to maybe get something from Darnold if we lose him is there.
Yeah.
I mean, his value I think is higher than what I expected.
Yeah.
From other teams.
I think we got here knowing it was a talker, but then being here for a couple of days. I mean, like Ben Gessling put in his story in the Star Tribune. I mean, it's that talker is the centerpiece of the NFL Combine with all these radio shows around us.
It is, and so that's good news. That's good news for us, I think, in any way, shape, or form. I mean, the depth of this draft is going to be at running back, maybe historically good at running back with a number of picks, and then offensive line and defensive line. So all areas of need for the Minnesota Vikings. So that bodes well. But we're sitting kind of in a rough spot with the number of picks that we have.
Yeah, but not with free agency money. That's why yesterday when Pete and I started chatting together, the theme was making the most with minimal. Draft 4 picks, making the most with much free agency. I think the Vikings have the 7th most money to spend in free agency as of right now. And you haven't gone all 22 on these guys of late, but there are some secondary type names like let's say tiers, whatever tiers would be 3, 4, stuff like that. Like safety Jeremy Chin. I think Jeremy Chin, he's with Washington now, and he was with Carolina. But I think Jeremy Chin and Brian Flores, and I'm like, wow, that just completely makes sense.
We've liked him ever since he scored back-to-back touchdowns against us.
That's
remember?
Right. Yeah.
You'll never see that again in the NFL.
Another name maybe you want to dive into or take a peek at some film. We saw him this year, too, is guard Brandon Sheriff. I mean, he's been coveted for years.
Yeah.
Got a lot of money in his last deal. I'm sure some things have fallen off. But Brandon Sheriff has always been a guard that I like.
He is, and I think another name that I like on that list is DJ Reed.
Yes.
I was, when you take a look at the Jets, Sauce Gardner, but DJ Reed he's undersized, but he's a good corner.
O'Connell loves him. I don't know if he was with him in Washington or something.
I'm not sure, but he's another name that popped out when you're scrolling through the list. You're like, wow, the ability to get him and kind of get him. He would come here and be the number one.
Yeah.
Right? So he's out of the shadow, so to speak.
Good point.
Right, of a Gardner.
Yeah.
And if we do want to play more man-to-man, then he's your guy. Because
they want to play man-to-man.
Yeah. So that's
love that.
A couple dots to connect there, but I would love to have that guy be part of the part. But, no question on the offensive line.
Yeah.
You just need and it's going to help Bradbury, too, at center. Right, early in the season, one thing that stood out was how well Brandell played in the beginning of the year, and how he was. When you put if you can put 2 physical guards next to an athletic center, then you've got something.
Yeah,
right. If you have 2 athletic guys next to each other, then that can kind of be a problem.
Okay, so in closing, we had Craig Peters from Vikings.com on talking about the Vikings finishing second in a NFLPA annual report card. The Chicago Bears finished middle of the pack. Courtney Cronin, our most recent guest, had a tweet earlier today within the last hour. And regarding the Bears, the NFLPA released its annual report card for all 32 teams. How about this stray Matt Eberflus catches? the player's evaluation of Matt Eberflus, who was last in head coach ranking, stood out the most. Quote, the player's most frequent complaint was their former head coach felt he lacked a willingness to listen to the players and the players' leadership council, and he mismanaged the weekly team schedule. Here's Eberflus here just looking at corners, catches a stray out of nowhere. Great job, brother.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Yep, thank you. Curly Harris, everybody with Vikings Entertainment Network. Awesome working with you guys. Likewise for producers Eric Nordquist and today Brett Blakemore. For Pete Bursich, I'm Paul Allen. That is Combine 2025 on your home for Vikings football, KFAN.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.